All right, welcome to lesson 9.1, which is all about exponents. The objective for this lesson is that I can represent exponents in expanded and simplified form. So there's two ways you should be able to work with exponents after this lesson. All right, so let's talk about where exponents come from before we kind of get into what they are. There are four math operations: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now, they're kind of related, particularly addition and multiplication. Now, when we use repeated addition, for example, if I have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, well, that's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But this is kind of a pain in the butt to write every time if I want to just add up the same number a bunch of times. So there's a shortcut. Instead of saying 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals, 12, I can say I have 3 and I'm multiplying it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 times 4 also gives us 12. So we can take this really long addition problem and shorten it with multiplication, but we still get the same answer. So multiplication is a shortcut for repeated addition when we're adding the same number over and over and over again. Now you might be wondering, what if we repeat multiplication? That's where exponents come in. So if I have repeated multiplication, I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Well, let's see what that is. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 16 times 2 is 32. But I had to write out 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's a pain in the butt. Remember, mathematicians are all about shortcuts. So that's why exponents were invented, or discovered, I guess, as a way to take all of this and shorten it. Instead of writing 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, I'm going to write 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may have seen exponents before. It's when you have a big number, and then there's a little number up in the corner. So this expression is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We could represent as 2 to the 5th power. So here we have our exponent. This little number in the corner is called our exponent, or our power. And this is how many times our number is being multiplied. In this case, we had 5 2's that were being multiplied. Down here, this number, the bigger number, is called our base. And this is the number being multiplied repeatedly. So we can take this whole expression and rewrite it as 2 to the 5th power, or 2 raised to the 5th power, which just means we're going to take 2, we're going to multiply it 5 times. So 2 to the 5th power and 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 are both going to give us 32 as our answer. This is a shortcut. All right, so let's talk about how we write exponents. And there is a special rule that you need to know. Here's our special rule. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. All right, so there are some words we use to refer to powers. One of the most common ones is squared. 7 squared really just means that we're going to take 7, we're going to multiply it times 7. Squared just means that there is a power of 2. Think about a square. If I have a square, that means all the side lengths are the same. So if I want to find the area of that square, I would multiply this side times this side, and it would be the same. There'd just be 2. We'll get a little bit more into area towards the end of the year. Squared is a word that just means 2, so 7 squared is going to be 7 times 7. There's 2. We would write that. So this is expanded form. Expanded is when you have everything written out as a multiplication problem. Now, we're going to look at simplified form, which is 7 is our base, that's what we're multiplying, and there's 2 of them, so power of 2. 7 times 7 is 7 to the second power, which is 49. All right, the next one, we have 19 cubed. Cube means 3. So when we have something cubed, that means we're going to multiply it 3 times. So if 19 is the number we're multiplying, I have 19 times 19 times 19, which is going to be 19. There's our base, the number we're multiplying. There's 1, 2, 3 of them, so I put my 3 in the corner. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what 19 cubed is, so I'm going to pull out my handy-dandy calculator. Now, if you're using a phone calculator, the easiest way to do it, especially with a small exponent like this, is to just type it in. So I'm just going to type in 19 times 19, 361. Now I'm not going to retype that in. I'm just going to hit times my last 19. Notice our number got really big really fast. Exponents get big really fast. So we have 6,859. All right. Next we have 3 to the power of 7. When it says power of a number, that is our exponent, or our power. Notice we labeled that. So it's telling us that 3 is the base. That's the number we're multiplying. And we're multiplying it to the power of 7. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. There's 4, 5, 6, 7. And I didn't give us quite enough room there, and that's okay. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our base is 3. So there's expanded form. To simplify it, my base is 3, my power is 7, that's the little number in the corner. There's my simplified form. Now, I don't want to have to type in 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times, etc., because it's going to take a long time. So let me grab a calculator. All right, now, I want to make an important point. I'll make a separate video as well. This calculator does not have a button I need to be able to do exponents efficiently. On this one, you're only going to be able to do it by multiplying over and over again. Same with this calculator. This does not have the button I need to do exponents. You're going to have to multiply over and over and over again. If you would like a shortcut, I recommend that you use a phone or computer calculator. So here's my phone calculator. This is my normal phone calculator. Notice there's not a lot of special buttons here. When I tip my phone sideways, it turns into a fancier calculator. And there's a lot of buttons here now. We have all of these guys over here. I want you to notice a couple buttons in particular. And I'm going to zoom in here to show you. If it'll focus. There we go. I'll go into these a little bit more in depth, but there's some buttons here. X to the second power, there's an exponent. X to the third power, there's an exponent. X to the y power, there's an exponent. E to the x power, there's an exponent. 10 to the x power, there's an exponent. There's a lot of exponent things happening here. We could use these different buttons. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. for now, let's stick to the old-fashioned way. All right, so we have 3 to the 7th power, so 3 times, there's 1, 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7, 2,187. Whew. It's really easy to kind of get lost in how many numbers you've multiplied, so it's okay to cross them off as you go to make sure that you stick with the right number. All right, expanded, simplified. 5 to the 0 power. This is our special rule. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. What that means is we would take our base, so notice 0 goes with the word power. Our base is 5, that's our big number. We're going to put a 0 up in the corner. 5 to the 0 power is going to be 1 every time. It doesn't matter if this is 5,000 to the 0 power, it's still going to be 1. All right. Next we have 8 times 8. 8 times 8, there's 2 8s, so 8 to the 2nd power. 8 times 8 is 64. I know that off the top of my head because I do this a lot. Use a calculator if you need to. And lastly, we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. What number is being multiplied? 3. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 to the 4th power. 3 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And lastly, 18 times 3, I don't know off the top of my head. 18 times 3 gives us 54. So our answer is 54. All right, you are going to dive into some practice writing exponents. You're going to write them in expanded form and simplified form and solve them. Let me know if you have any questions.